matrices. All right. So this is all posted on the Google Classroom. On our Google Classroom at the very top, and I can show you guys later, I've posted, it's not within a topic, it just says algebra terms you need to know. And so when you're studying for a test or you're studying vocabulary or whatever, I will pull directly from that list. So it is posted there for you to look at. So this has been added to that, and as we do things, I will just keep updating that list on there. And I have a running syllabus on there as well, if you kind of want to see ahead what's going on. So we're not going to go over all of these right now. Just want to say these are terminology we're going to learn in this chapter. And this information is posted for you to go back and look at, all right? So a matrix. Matrices look like just a whole bunch of different numbers, and if you've never seen them before, it can be rather frightening because there's no information about it. All it is a bunch of numbers with brackets around it. So you're like, what are we doing? There's no Y's, there's no equal signs, there's nothing. So often you get to the ACT, every ACT has a matrix on it. You get to sometimes two, but at least one. You get to it and you go, never seen that before in my life. Don't know what that is. All right. A matrix is simply a way to organize data. That's all it is. It's a way to organize data when the data has a whole lot of different parts to it. So they came up with ways to say, how do I figure it out? So for example, Miss Autry was super wonderful and did all of our shirts this year. So we go to order shirts. Well, there's a lot of different options. We had short sleeve, long sleeve sweatshirts. We had purple or green for all of those options. We had small, medium, large, extra large for all of the same options as well. And we have the option to purchase last year's shirts for $5 as well. Okay, how would we organize that in a way that we just don't have a whole bunch of, little pieces of paper lying around? So for example, a company might want to organize small, medium, large, extra large, how many they currently have in stock, what colors they have available for each of them, whether they have short sleeve or long sleeve, whether it's a hoodie or it's a t-shirt, whether it's a men's cut or a women's cut. Maybe they decided to put the logo on some shorts and they have that as an option also. So when you get multiple information, we start organizing in a matrix, right? That is the purpose of organizing a matrix. If you printed your notes, I will be going along with these notes and kind of tying in your textbook at the same time. But I do want you to fill in these notes here in class as we go, right? So it's any order of numbers, right? It says each number is called an entry. So each individual spot is called an entry, right? The order of a matrix here. So let me go over this one. So I'm going to kind of jump back and forth. So we have 4 different types of matrices. We have a row, column, square, and 0, and then there's just a regular one. So technically there's 5. There's 4 specifics, and then there's everything else that follows in that. So a row is only horizontal. So it's one row that's horizontal. If we think about rows are always going to be across, columns are up and down. It's the same for any table that you work with. Your rows go across, columns go up and down. The way that I remember that is that column has a big L right in the middle of it, which goes up and down. So our columns are going to be the ones that go up and down. That's my brain trick for that. Square ones are going to be what they say, a square. They're going to be the same rows and columns, and then 0 means that it's going to have all entries will be equal to 0. So how do we go about figuring out what we have? So for this first one, we're going to label through these, all right? So I've got 1 and 2. There is no comma separating them. You simply just pretend you've got little boxes and you sort through there. So there's no grid line, there's no commas separating them. We have the numbers 1 and 2. That would be a 1-row column called a 1, 2, right? Or 1-row matrix. So then I've got a column matrix. This one goes up and down. We would still read it. 1, 2. This one would be read 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to go across and then down. And then we've got zeros here. Right? So those are our examples. Matrices are always labeled in an L. Right? We move left to right. So we need to know every bit of information about the left side before we move to the right side, is how I like to think about it. So we're going to deal with everything on the left side first, and then we're going to move to the right side. So on the left side, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3 rows. So I'm going to write 3. Then as I move across, I have 1, 2, 3 columns. Okay? So we have rows by columns. It is read 3 by 3. This is not multiplied. This X is not multiplication here. It is read by. It is telling us the size, the dimensions of it. All right? So this one is considered a square matrix because it has the same number of rows as it does columns. So anything that is, if I have 2 by 2, that's going to be a square. So think of it as square has the same size sides. Length and width are the same on it. Right. So we're going to label these. So this first one here, how many rows do we have? 1. How many columns do we have? 2. It's a 1 by 2. All right, what about this next one? 1 row. How many columns? 3. It would be a 1 by 3. This bottom one, 1 row, 4 columns. 1 by 4. All right, so now I have column 1. So we always read our rows first. So the first one has how many rows? 2 rows. And how many columns? 1. So it's a 2 by 1. The second one?
3 by 1.
3 by 1.
4 by 1.
4 by 1. Perfect. This one we have 2 rows, 2 columns.
2 by
2
2.
by 2. 3 rows, 3 columns.
3 by 3.
4 rows, 4 columns. 4 by 4. Okay, for my zeros, I've got 2 rows, 2 columns. 2 by 2. And I've got 3 rows, 3 columns. 3 by 3. Okay? So when we label, we do everything on the left side first, and then we're going to move to the right side. So we go down and to the right in an L whenever we read them. Each number that is in our matrix can be communicated in a coordinate. Okay? And because we go down first and then to the right, if I were to say which entry is 2, 2, this would be my rows. The second one would be my column. So I'm going to go down 2 rows, 1, 2. I'm going to go over 2 columns, 1, 2. The entry 2, 2, and this happens to be the number 2. Right? So on your sheet it says, this is a what type of matrix? It has 3 rows and 4 columns. How would you write that? It is a 3 by 4 matrix. It says the entry 2, 3 is what? So we're going to go down 2 rows and over 3 columns. They have it circled. The entry 2, 3 is what? 5. The number 5.